ask me a lot. Like I run a meetup, and Ben and I, we network quite a bit. Ben runs a meetup too. I get that question all the time: is should I jump straight to multifamily? And my typical answer is, in my opinion, no. And everyone has their own path, but it's kind of nice to start a little smaller, whatever size that may be for you, in my opinion. And then you kind of cut your teeth a little bit. And specific to that, in my opinion, I think you want to have some experience with your own capital before you take
Yes.
anyone else's capital. So if someone says multifamily, I'm like, well, yeah, that's fine, but I think you really need that experience. So I guess I would just choose to pick both you guys' brain. What are your thoughts around that?
No, I think you're dead on, Eric. I mean, Eric and I also, all cards on the table, own some stuff together. We own a couple of quads that we've gone through, and I think everybody says, and I completely agree with this, and I say this a lot, is that you don't show up, or most people don't show up to this industry completely empty-handed, right? Like everybody has, for the most part, walked a path. You've learned something, whether you're just coming out of college, coming out of high school, you have family, like you mentioned, Steve. Coming from a background of professionalism, like Eric was an engineer, and I ran action sports for 20 years. We learned some of these things, but no matter what you do, like there's still something that until you dive in and you're actually in real estate, like you don't really know what you're getting into until you start doing it. Like it's just like anything else. So starting small or starting smallish, like it doesn't have to be just a single family. It doesn't have to be a burr, but pick something that fits who you are, in my opinion, and then you learn from that, right? Like now we're at a place where we're doing some larger multis, but I'll tell you, we learned more from those quads and like in a multifamily setting than we did like in most of the other ones, right? So that was something for us that made a lot of sense.
I think I'd have to agree with you, Eric, and not necessarily from a capital perspective, which I don't disagree with, but from a time perspective and a commitment perspective. Like getting into a multifamily deal, you are married to that property for some time. Like whether it's a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, depending on the size, depending on the strategy of that asset. And if you're new into it, you listen to this podcast and you're like, sweet, I'm going to ditch my job as an engineer or in sales or sports and jump into real estate full time, first swing, deep end. I would probably say dip your toe in with the single family first to see if you even like it whatsoever. Because typically, single family stuff, condo, single family home, duplex, like even quads, they're a lot more liquid in a lot of cases. And especially in like sort of times that we might be facing today where there might be a little bit more headwinds in space, it's a lot harder to get over leverage to a significant magnitude. And like the commitment size of a 150 unit multifamily in Houston versus a duplex here in Victoria, British Columbia, I can be in and out of that thing in weeks versus a multifamily, which might take years. And you might get 6 months into it and go, man, I suck at this, or I hate this, and I'm tied to this thing for the next 5 years. Like my life sucks. And I don't want that feeling for anybody. And I'd rather them get into like just testing the waters first, or maybe like shadowing a mentor or something.